All right, folks, we are in Detroit, and a couple of struggling teams going to try and get well with Toronto and Detroit tonight. Yes, the studio has a little bit of a discrepancy in the height of chairs. Although
I deal with what I got, right?
Yeah, as long as you can see us, we're good. You people have no idea what the camera is even sitting on as we do this in the hotel room. But Eric, every morning I get up and people say, "Oh, it's too early to look at the standings." No. I look at the standings.
Yeah.
I look at the box scores. I look at who's played well, who hasn't played well, who is playing well, who's trending poorly, and where people sit, where teams sit. And Detroit at 7-17. Toronto at 8 and 15.
Yeah.
A couple of teams looking to get well, and you look. Milwaukee's won a couple in a row now. New York keeps winning again. Indiana's winning. So as much as we talk about, I love your line, the muddled mess, and maybe 6, 7, and 8 as open spots. We're past the quarter pole.
Yep.
And it looks like some teams are starting to dig in and grab on.
Well, I know this is something you and I spoke about off the air, and I can't even remember if I said this in the last vlog or not, but the way my brain operates with numbers, I was not great in math. I can add and subtract and whatever else, but when you start talking about Pythagorean theorems and all this stuff, I'm done. Get me out of this class.
That's tough too.
My point is, when the way my brain computes numbers, early in the season, when I see 2 doesn't sound like much, and when you say 2 and 9, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You're 7 games below 500. 2 and 9. Ugh. All of a sudden the Raptors start getting things going a little bit, and you work yourself up to the point where you're 8 and 11.
Yeah.
All right, I can deal with that. I'm 8 and 11. I'm in the 8th seed. Things are looking pretty good. All right, well, not bad. Maybe I can take 2 of the next 4, split it 2 and 2. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Well, now you go out and lose 4 in a row, 8 and 15. Doesn't sound great, but in my brain it's like, 8 and 15. Well, do the math. 7 below 500. Same as 2 and 9. I don't know if a lot of you are like that, but that's the way my brain computes. And for the second time this season, being 7 games below 500, and then factor in what Jonesy just says about other teams starting to get it a little bit, you have to start taking care of business and get a win or 2 here and there just to stay in that muddled mess. Because if you drop further down and further down, it's just like the problem they've had in games. You dig yourself a big hole early in the season.
Yes.
It's going to be harder to climb out and actually stay in a legit contention for that 7-8 seed that we think or we thought was going to be open in the East. And it's trending just the way the games have. Yet again last night, Jonesy, right? You fall down 19 points.
And get it back to 4, and then one mistake because you have no margin for error, does you in. And it's the other things, as Eric says, you got to take care of on the way. And then you get a team like New York, who's the opposite. They've run off a winning streak now. Amari Stoudemire is about to equal something that's been done only once in the history of the franchise if he goes for another 30-point game. And they've built themselves a cushion so that they have a 2, 3, 4-game losing streak.
Right.
All right, they're okay. They're not that bad. And, and there's some tough games coming up. You got Detroit tonight, albeit a team that's not playing well. But, yes, they are still at home. You got to go to Charlotte. And then coming up at home, the Lakers aren't too far away. You got Chicago coming in.
Yeah, Chicago, New Jersey, LA.
Yeah, well, I know you're on your home court, but
that hasn't meant a whole lot lately.
No, 6-6. No,
they were starting to take care of business. Now they've fallen right back down to 500. And you hope that when you go back home, your next game is what? The Chicago Bulls. That's not going to be any easy task to try and get yourself back above 500 at home, let alone what you're trying to do on the road in the meantime.
Yeah, interesting too. And looking through, hearing the comments of former Raptor and current Piston Tracy McGrady about the age limit, which seems to have reared its head again when you talk about collective bargaining negotiations between the league or the Players Association and the league and the owners. McGrady said, you know what, I can see where people are coming from, but I'm biased, so don't ask me. He's a guy that came out of high school, but he was not in good standing until Butch Carter kind of grabbed a hold of him and really helped him out. So that's something to watch for. It'd be good to see Tracy tonight and talk to him and see where he's at, but he sounds like at this stage of his career, just kind of on the downside, he now appreciates what he has. And my message to him would be, hey, Mac, you got to talk to a lot of the young guys who don't understand. It's not like this all the time. Times change and your skills erode over time. So grab it, love it, do all you can while you're here.
It's interesting you mentioned Tracy McGrady. I heard somebody, I honestly don't recall who it was yesterday, somebody in one of the media circles, we were talking, and a brief minor comparison to DeRozan and McGrady came up in that a young player in the Raptors system at the 2-3, who's kind of struggling and having to have that patience to wait for him to get it, for it to click. And while I appreciate the comparison, Jones, and I'm not trying to get all over DeMar here, I think the difference is you're talking about an 18-year-old out of high school and giving him a couple of years versus a kid who's now 21. Now, he's still a kid at 21, but certainly based on the way things have been going for, at least 2, if not 3 weeks now, there needs to be another level that is eventually reached in terms of not only production, but more so consistency for DeRozan. We saw a glimpse last night from Sonny Weems.
Yeah. Was
that him coming out of his 8-9 game funk? But DeRozan, you've got to start taking it to that next step, because in this league, Jones, the 2-3 is where it's at. And you need to have at least one guy who's getting it done on both ends at the 2-3.
And I think that's what you're going to continue to see from DeMar as a young player. I mean, remember, he should be a junior now at USC.
But he's also had 100 games in the NBA now.
Yes, he has.
That's a lot of time.
And you've got to, as you said, you've got to start cracking through. And, different people get it at different times. Hopefully DeMar stays with it, and something can break for him to give him a little bit of confidence, because you can look at his face at times and it looks like he really gets it, and then there are other times when things aren't going well and you can see he's just trying to figure it out.
And just quickly, folks, I'm not sure if it's out there yet. I haven't read all of the Toronto papers. I've been focusing more on Detroit at this point, but Jose Calderon not with the team, so he will obviously not play tonight. Jared Bayless will start for the second straight night, and clearly he needs to be better. You know that, he knows that, everybody knows that. I mean, a plain person watching their first game last night can see that Jared Bayless did not play well last night and needs to be much better if the Raptors have a chance to beat the Pistons tonight.
Got a couple chances for wins here against teams in, as Eric says, the muddled mess with them in Detroit tonight and Charlotte on Tuesday.